and welcome to HT's weekly talk show, The Interview. When it comes to controversies, no one is spared, not even Mahatma Gandhi. Recently, his formula for freedom was being questioned by a film actor who called it Bheek. How does it feel to have the Mahatma under the lens? What is the burden of the Gandhi surname? Does it take a toll on the family? To speak to us about this and much more, we have with us Mahatma Gandhi's granddaughter, Tara Gandhi Bhattacharjee, on this edition of HD's weekly talk show, The Interview. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Tara Gandhi Bhattacharjee, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Kumkumji, for this opportunity that you have given me.
Let us begin with the latest controversy about film actor Kangana Ranaut saying that Bhagat Singh and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose got no support from Mahatma Gandhi.
If I now take a march to Rajghat and take a whole lot of people that Gandhi should not be talked like, they should not talk like this about Gandhi and the freedom struggle and all this. Thousands and thousands of people will go with me. And we can take a march right up to Rajghat to say that all this is not right. But I don't want to do that, and it will never actually occur to me to do that. What I feel is that we have to, in a way, ignore it. You cannot wake up people who are pretending to be asleep.
Don't you think it is important to set the record straight, particularly on the other aspect which she said, offering an other cheek can only get you bheek and not azadi? Don't you think it's important to set the record straight? And even if you don't want to answer them in their language, then definitely set rest the misapprehensions and misunderstandings that are being deliberately caused.
What is important today is to realize that the freedom we got of the non-violent struggle of Gandhi and great leaders with him, even Subhash Chandra Bose and all that, that freedom we got was a political freedom. So a big revolution was needed, another struggle was needed to set things right in our own country after the political freedom.
What about Gandhi's mantra saying that offering another cheek can only get you bheek and it can't get you azadi? In one sense, the British were too stern, really, to hand freedom to you only on non-violence.
It was non-violence. And when Gandhi said we are taking it out of context, that offer the other cheek for it, which he meant that probably that, as in Hindi you would say, Durgun ko hatane ke liye sagun chahiye. I would say that the English people cooperated with Gandhi because the argument Gandhi gave was out of reason, of truth. Instead of guns and bombs and atom bombs, he used the spinning wheel, and the sound of the charkha drowned all the other violent noises.
You're talking about reason and logic, but isn't it also true that aggressors, like the British were, do not listen to reason and logic, and they only understand the politics of power?
Well, we are going back. This becomes a psychological subject. Even I wonder how they did it. But as a growing girl in that era and a witness to time as an adolescent girl, I really saw no question in our conversation in the family of anger against the British. They were like members of our family.
Yes, in fact, this is one of the criticisms, if I may use a strong word, against Mahatma Gandhi, that he was friendly to the British. And therefore, his critics see non-violence as a very overrated slogan.
We should give the message of non-violence. And when we talk of the Gandhi era, he was friendly because he was a, he was a very evolved person spiritually also. And people may say anything. My view that it was his weakness. And if people say that Gandhi was too friendly with them, Gandhi was everyone's friend. Gandhi he had immense charisma and he was a great psychologist. I would call it non-violent because Gandhi's insistence on truth and explaining that it was our right. हमारा जन्म सिद्ध अधिकार है स्वराज्य. It was just the injustice of the British which they realized. And I would compliment today, and it should not be considered as flattering the British. They also realized, just imagine the spiritual power and the truth of Gandhi and all his associates, that the British liberated themselves of their injustice while we got the freedom.
You know, it sounds very good, but actually on the ground, what is felt and said that it was the pressure from revolutionaries like Netaji, Bhagat Singh,
Yes,
who
yes.
drove out the British. And it was really not this spiritualism which did it.
Well, we can go on doing that. Netaji played a big role. Netaji proved that we are possible of using weapons, of being violent. And we have that power. Having the power, we refuse to use it. When we had that power, we chose the other path of nonviolence. And that is how we got the freedom. Unless there is that power to show, I mean, we had that power to show, and we had the other power to show also, and we preferred not to use violence.
Or if I put it differently, we had the other power to show, we used that power, but what was flagged was the so called spiritualism much more than the other power which actually drove out the British.
I don't know why it is said. We are conscious of the both the powers. This is how it was. But to take ahead, cancelling that because we will not use violence and we will use non-violence, of course, it gets talked about more because it is powerful. And he used the charkha. Actually, it was constructive. He didn't just talk. He brought the economic strength of the British and brought the spinning wheel, which was a weapon against the other so-called violent weapons.
So, one view is that the violent weapon, which were the guns, and the charkha went hand in hand.
Violence and charkha went hand in hand. I would not put it that way. We can go on arguing like that, but I don't see it like that. Why do you think Gandhi could have had so many followers like Rabindranath Tagore and Nehru, Rajendra Prasad? I could name Rajgopalacharya, Sardar Patel. I might go on, Maulana Azad, Badshah Khan. I mean, they go hand in hand. Violence and non-violence go in hand. But if the world survives today, it is because of non-violence.
In that sense, Netaji and Mahatma Gandhi worked together to get freedom, and the freedom which we got was the efforts of both these groups. Okay. However, there is still a view, and again, one which has come from, and I bring you back to Kangana Ranaut. Either you are a Gandhi fan or a Netaji supporter. You cannot be both. Choose your heroes wisely. What would you say to that?
Well, I don't want to comment on someone else saying that and choosing my hero. And why should I choose any one of them? I mean, just because someone has said choose, I am not obliged to choose.
Another remark that she made was that freedom came in 2014 when Prime Minister Modi came to power.
I don't know what to say to that. Still, it is not freedom without the vision of Sarvodaya. So I won't say that with the Prime Minister Modi, the freedom started in India. No, certain things have come as certain things, many things have been coming all these years. I mean, if the Prime Minister brought something new, the other Prime Ministers also brought other things. And freedom doesn't come because of the Prime Minister or the political party. It comes because of a citizen's power. And that was Subhash Chandra Bose, Gandhi, Nehru. It was a fight of the citizen, not power in the politics, not the prime ministerial position.
How would you compare Mahatma Gandhi's India with Prime Minister Modi's India? Do you think your grandfather would be happy or disappointed the way things are panning out in this country?
I don't know, I would not call it Modi's India. I see a lot of things, good things that are happening, and the credit goes to the citizens, not the government. But in the end, today's India is certainly, I see, it is not in the vision of Gandhi. Today's India, I see that so many things, so much separation has come, and there is a lot of negativity.
If your grandfather, Mahatma Gandhi, was alive today, what are the things he would have corrected?
He would have said, listen to your conscience. That would include the government, the political parties, and all of us.
What is it that would have disturbed him the most about today's India?
He would have, what disturbs me, I think would have disturbed him, is the way the children and the youth are being nourished on hate and revenge and violence. Tolerance is a wrong word today. We have to respect another person's philosophy and religion.
And yet, tolerance was a word Mahatma Gandhi used very, very often.
Right, that time it had a certain meaning. Time changes, and today it's not that same thing.
I agree, times have changed. Do you think they have also changed to redefine his philosophy of putting forth the other cheek if you're slapped on the first one?
This has to be taken in a philosophical way. Give your other cheek. We have to go a long way with evil and hate the evil, not the person who is doing it. I would read it that way.
You have said, and I quote, when riots broke out in 1947, my father would stay late to ensure safety of Muslim workers in the office.
Right.
Pitch that against today's India, where Muslims are very fearful, very insecure, and consider themselves as outsiders.
Absolutely right. I remember my father going out at night, the daytime when there was after the partition, just to defend the Muslim workers of the office of the Hindustan Times. Now I'm talking to the Hindustan Times readers. And our office at that time was in the Connaught Circus area. And to your question today, yes, I agree with you that Muslims and the minorities are living in fear today in our country. After so many years of freedom, why do we still have to use the word minority?
So, what about insecurity of Muslims today?
Insecurity of Muslim is there today, and it is increasing. That certainly I feel is happening, and that is not. I feel very bad, ashamed of myself.
What would your grandfather have done?
How can I imagine beyond a certain point while what my grandfather would have done also is not always the right question, because Gandhi was always changing and according to time adjusting and also finding the answers. I think today this kind of situation he never actually when he died he was a sad man because he saw the greed of the people around him.
Would you hold the Modi government or the BJP government responsible for this increasing insecurity of Muslims in India?
I would hold the citizens even more than that. I meet people from my philosophy, or as you call them, Hindus. called the majority. And I see this kind of thing that is following our own rituals and all that is sort of increasing and bringing a kind of even that somewhere in remote fear in something happens and fear in the Muslims or some kind of, they feel forced to say certain things. Maybe they don't agree with it. I do feel that. And I don't know how to say it. Of course, I blame the government if they are doing it because if they pass a rule, it's they who do it. But I would hold the citizens equally responsible.
Let me take you down memory lane and ask you, what are the memories of Mahatma Gandhi and Kasturba that you cherish? You said once that he would only sleep after you pressed his feet.
My first 14 years, from my birth to 14 years when Gandhi got assassinated, were full of our connection with uh, with the leaders and with the freedom fighters then of Gandhi, Rajaji, Nehru, Sardar Patel, Maulana Azad, Badshah Khan. They used to be our guests in our house. And so I do recollect those uh, those memories a lot. I'm glad you mentioned Kasturba because without Kasturba, Gandhi could not have been so complete as he was. Gandhi also became the father of the nation because there was a mother in him. And as I understand Gandhi, the greatest power in creation is the mother power, which he realized. And the memories I have is the Gandhi, as he spoke to me after Kasturba died, was really like a mother speaking to a child. About Kasturba, first I would say that we had gone to the Aga Khan Palace, where they were the prisoners, the last prison of Gandhi and Kasturba. And we took a train we used to take the train from Delhi, book a train ahead, and go to Pune, stay in a sarai where my mother would do her cooking. The next day, we took a rickshaw or something and reached the warden of the jail and get permission and go to the Aga Khan Palace to see Ba and Bapuji. One of the visits, which was a few weeks before Kasturba died, and I went there, and Kasturba said, uh, told Manu Bain and Sushila Nair, who were there with her, uh, वो साड़ी ले आओ जो मैंने देवदास की तारा के लिए रखी है. And Sushila Bain and Manu Bain brought the beautiful khadi sari. I mean, khadi was the norm, and we had to do nothing about it. We had to wear khadi. And that beautiful khadi sari with embroidery. And she was very frail, lying in bed. But she said, "ये देवदास की तारा के लिए उसको दे दो." And I took it and hugged it, and I wanted to run out of the prison. Why? Because I thought Bapuji sitting there spinning would say it should not go to Tara, it should go to the needy person. Tara has enough. This is what I thought Bapuji would say. So I wanted to run away. But then I looked at Bapuji, he was smiling and nodding his head, which he meant that today Tara is the needy person to take a sari from her grandmother who is in need of giving it to her granddaughter.
Where is that sari now?
Please don't ask me. I'm ashamed of myself. I never documented things very well. That sari I wore a long time in my college days and all that, it got torn. I'm sorry to say that.
Some incidents relating to Mahatma Gandhi.
First of all, I would like to say that sitting next to him, you felt a sattvic power and his sense of humor, his sense of adventure.
You also cried when you wrote a letter to him and he said, "Your handwriting is terrible," and you tore off that letter.
I did that and I cried inside me. I did not show because I wanted to show that letter was good. He said, "Improve your handwriting and write again." But I never wrote him back. Gandhi corrected me many things. He used to say, "Why do you wear these jhumkas and all that?" I used to wear as an adolescent girl. After Ba died also, you look very nice without jhumkas and jewelry and all that. I said, "No, Bapuji, I like it." Of course, I never followed him, did what I did.
As a child, you did not take to khadi. In fact, you hated it, if I may use a strong term.
I resisted khadi and I did not like it at all because my friends were all wearing then they used to be called the mill cloth. My friends have their mill saris and mill dupatta and mill salwar kameez, and they have so many beautiful colors. Why do I have to wear khadi? But I started loving khadi after I joined college, the so-called very fashionable college, Miranda House. I started loving khadi and love khadi today. I mean, as a friend told me, a very quotable quote that she said, Tara Ben, I want to be born again so that I can wear khadi again. I mean, I would also say that. I love khadi, and philosophically, I call my life my journey on the thread of the spinning wheel.
But you were once asked, how come you wear these colorful clothes? After all, Gandhi always wore white.
Yes, journalists even now today ask me, why do you talk of fashion? Why do you talk of colors? I said, A, I never talk of fashion, but fashion is a beautiful word. If I talk about it, there's nothing wrong in it. It is, fashion means a way of doing things. And Gandhi was in that way very fashionable and elegant. I see so many colors in the white of Gandhi. There is so much of aesthetics, refinement, and colors in the white Gandhi wore.
Take me through the day of his assassination, January 30th, 1948.
Well, that time we used to always run to the then Birla House, which is Gandhi Smriti today, to be with Bapuji, especially the prayer time. But that particular day, it so happened that I had a lot of homework, so I could not go to Bapuji's prayer just immediately after the school. And I was doing my homework, and suddenly I said I'll finish my homework and then go to Bapuji. So suddenly a phone came. It was my father's office above the Hindustan Times office in Connaught Circus. And we used to get these phone calls and say, hello, say, uh, Bapuji par goli chali hai. Bapuji has been shot. I just put the receiver down because I was used to such calls and sensational things being my father's daughter. Then I put again it rang, the same news, alarming news. Then someone came on the phone, Tara Ben, please listen to it. आप गांधी जी पर गोली चली है. Please listen to this. It is serious. Then I could put my act together. And the youngest brother Gopu was there.
And you were not allowed in, and you had to tell them, मैं गांधी जी की पोती हूँ.
I used to go to Birla House earlier from the side road, never entered from the door which took to the residence of the Birlas. But I knocked at that door and they would not open it. Sir, just open it. I am Bapuji's granddaughter. I have come to see my grandfather. Then they opened it. I think the first time and the last time I have said myself that please do this. I am Gandhiji's granddaughter. But I then went in and I went to that room. There were others, but what I remember, Bapuji was lying there, my father was crying, my mother there, and Nehru crying. And I did pranam. I had no tears in my eyes because I could not believe that he died. I saw my father crying away as he had never done.
So, when did it hit you that he was no more?
It actually, that he's no more, but he's still there, was hitting me always because there were so many letters from all over the world, so many people sharing it, that while it registered that Gandhi died, it also registered that I'm not alone, that we are not alone.
Do you still
I,
feel that way?
I feel that way very much. Gandhi was also a family person, although he belongs to the entire humanity today, father of the nation, belonging to the entire humanity. He was also a man of the family.
You know, while you say that, and you have said this before also about his being a family man, the facts are quite contrary, if you will allow me to take you through that, because his own son, Harilal, revolted and he said, the greatest father you can have, but the one father I wish I did not have, is what he said.
Well, he may have said that, but I remember Harilal Kaka in a different way. And all my theories and views are based on what I personally experienced. And well, about Harilal Kaka. You know, Harilal Kaka had the same element as Gandhi. He revolted against Gandhi. Because you can imagine psychologically, just listen to it. I mean, Gandhi was evolving all the time. Think of Gandhi as Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Harilal Gandhi, born at such a young age to this man called Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and to Kasturba the same age. But suddenly, this man grows up with his struggles for experiments with truth and says all his things should go to the others, to any opportunity given to the next person, everything done for others, divide it among the people around you, divide it among the society. What does the first child feel? When a father is like that, the first child has to suffer.
His children felt that he was more a father of the nation than a father to his children. Do you agree?
I personally, in my experience, do not agree to that. If his children feel that, they have their own reason. I will not contradict them because that is their own feeling.
You also asked one of his biographers on why he chose to write on someone who had been written about so much. Don't people get bored with so much Gandhi, is what you said.
No, I don't know when I said that. I wouldn't have said bored with Gandhi. I said, personally, sometimes don't ask me about Gandhi. I get too tired. Ask me about something else.
So, are you bored with too much Gandhi and so much Gandhi, if I may ask you?
The word is not bored. Sometimes you like a change.
You would agree that the Gandhi surname carries a burden, and every act of yours or people in the family is under a microscope. Tell me about the weight of that surname which you carry on your frail shoulders.
The name Gandhi, of course, today is very powerful. I know there is search for Gandhi. The moment you say Gandhi, people are in awe of that name. That name has power.
So, what is the burden?
The burden is nothing. I don't see a burden.
Your brother Ramu felt embarrassed whenever he was introduced as a Gandhi. One does not want to be a living advertisement for Mahatma Gandhi, is what he said. Do you go through something like this, or are you a proud Gandhi?
I agree with him on what he said. Please don't not see any Gandhi as a living advertisement of Gandhi. No, it's a horrible word.
It's a word your brother used.
Maybe he used, I don't remember it, but he's quite, I'm glad you told me because I learned something.
Your cousin Sumitra Kulkarni had once said that she would take a pickaxe and demolish Rajghat because Gandhi did not want to be remembered through memorials.
When she said that, she meant something. Again, I don't know why she said that. When she said it, she believed it. I neither would like to go with it nor disagree with it. She said it. I have no comment on that.
But it is true that
Because
Gandhi did not want to be remembered through memorials. And what the country did in his memory was contrary to what he believed in.
that, of course, is right. But Gandhi did not believe in memorials. I don't think I would like to go too deep into that.
Mrs. Tara Gandhi Bhattacharjee, thank you very much. Thank you for your time and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kumkumji.